Today we are going to be doing a bike check on my trekremedy 8. So I know I did one a couple of months back in February, but today we hit a milestone for this bike. It has done 2,000 miles. Now I'm not really sure whether 2,000 miles is a lot or whether it's not a lot, but I've certainly done a lot of miles on it. 2,000 miles. I need to get my suspension serviced and checked. I should probably do that soon actually. Today is mainly going to be an update. So rather than sort of bike check as such, it's going to be like a 2,000 mile update. So what's working, what's not working, what I'd like to change, what I don't want to change, what's fine. So let's jump straight into it and talk about it. Let's start from the front of the bike and work our way to the back. So starting with the front, we have our Bontrager Line Comp 30 wheels. These are absolutely great wheels. They've held up well over the 2,000 miles. I've never had to tighten the spokes on the front wheel. I have on the back wheel, but that was only due to when I landed and cased a few jumps, as you would have seen in my Twisted Oaks video, the one where I crashed. So that was the only reason, but apart from that, I've never had to adjust the spokes. They were really good. I rarely ever get punctures, and I know that doesn't relate to the rim, but the rim, they're really good. I mean, as the phrase goes, rim dinger, I'm always hitting my rims on rocks and roots and stuff, and I never really scratch them that bad. As you can see on the rear one, I have a few scratches around here somewhere, but they're not major. They're actually doing really, really well. And also, moving on to other stuff on the wheel, we then have the Shroud Knobby Nick 2.4 tyre on the front, same on the rear. Super grippy. These are thick tyres. Well, I think they're thick because in this whole time I've had this bike, I've only ever had 2 punctures. That might be because the tubeless seals it up, so I've never seen it, but I've only had 2 punctures, which is great, and those were both within the first month of owning this bike, because that was just due to awful inner tubes that were in it before. So we went tubeless, now it's absolutely fine. These have also held up well over the 2,000 miles. I've still got plenty of tread left on them. Also, talking about the front of the bike, we then have the RockShox Lyric RC. Now, in modern terms, in the new RockShox system, this would be a RockShox Select. So it's basically the bottom model, the base model. So you used to have RC, RC2 and RC3, and whereas now you have Select, Select Plus and Ultimate. So in modern terms this would be a Select fork, but this is the RC fork. It's held up well, it's got 160mm travel, I've had no issues with it. It's got 12 clicks of low speed compression. The only thing is it didn't come with a top cap for the fork to where you put your air in. It didn't come with one, so the valve was just exposed. So we did get one. Unfortunately, it's not the correct one. It's the one for the old Lyric, the 2016, but it covers it up, it's fine. But it just looks like an older fork than it actually is. I also then run -10 clicks of rebound. These are the RockShox recommended settings, so that's what I use. And overall, they've held up really well. I've had no issues with them over the 2,000 miles. They probably need a service, but they're doing absolutely fine. I'm still happy with them. In fact, I changed it after last week's video, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. We also have the Bontrager Line Comp 30 handlebars. I really like these. They're good. They're not too hard. They're not too rigid. I took them off the other week because I had to touch up the paint on some of them, and I could flex them in my hands because they are quite flexible bars, really, and they're really good. They're good at shock absorbing, and my hands never ever hurt on this bike due to these bars. I really like them. They're aluminium because of course this whole bike's aluminium, there's no carbon on it, but it does only weigh 31 pounds, which for an aluminium bike's pretty good. Some carbon bikes I've looked at buying for future, they weigh 29 pounds, so £2 difference, not masses. You could probably carry that in body weight, and I'm quite light anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. I then also have the DMR Death Grips. I've had these a month. They've held up well. They're starting to get a little bit wear, but they're absolutely fine. Still really like them. Really comfortable. For brakes on this bike, I run SRAM Guide R. Now these are awful. I'm not going to lie, they're not good brakes at all. They're very spongy. The levers are spongy. They're not good. I mean, I've never had to bleed the front brake, but I've had to bleed the rear brake quite a few times, and they just don't seem to be on point. I mean, our friend, he's got Guide RS, the next model up, and they're amazingly better. It's weird, but they're not good brakes. I mean, they've held up for 2,000 miles, they've done well, but they're just not powerful. So I am probably going to be swapping these out. Yeah, so guidars, I recommend if you can afford it, change them straight away. Put some better brakes on. But if you feel they're alright, then leave it. I also then have a Fox fender on my forks. And come on, RockShox, if you ever watch something like this, come up with a system to put bolts into your fork. For example, Fox, they have 2 mounting brackets on the bridge of the fork. So you can put in the Syncros fender, it just screws in and looks really neat and tidy. But RockShox, they haven't done that. You still have to use cable ties, and they're okay, but anyway, we don't need to talk about that. That's nothing special. Next up, moving to the middle of the bike, we then have the Bontrager dropper line. I think it's a Comp 30, I'm not really too sure though, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. So, this is a good dropper. It comes with 125mm travel, surprisingly. I would have thought it has 150. As you can see, it has this curve in the seat tube, and the dropper can only go down that far. As soon as you go past there, the bottom of the dropper post knocks into the frame and then it doesn't function properly. That's what happened a few weeks ago with my bike. So I found out the hard way, but it pops quite well, to be fair. As you can see, it's not one of those instant ones, which, to be honest, I don't really like. So very easy to put down, comes up nicely, and yeah, really good. I also then have the SDG MTN seat on the top. So, it did actually come with this seat, the Bontrager seat. Now, this is not a nice seat at all. I mean, the new Trek Remedies, they come with different seats, but it's kind of bulky, as you can see. It looks a lot more bulky than this. This looks more sleek. I know this is softer, but that is the seat, and the seat posts there really well. The lever works well. It's quite a nice lever, nice silver colour, and I really like that. Moving down the bike, we then have a big discussion point for Trek bikes. We have this, the Reactive Shock. So this is a RockShox Deluxe RT3. So as you'll know, RockShox have 2 models. They have the Deluxe and the Super Deluxe. This is the Deluxe, and Trek do their own tune on it called Reactive. Some people love it, some people hate it. Personally, I'm not a fan of it at all. I don't think it copes very well. I mean, yeah, it's good when pedalling. It stops all that pedal bob, and it's more efficient. But when you're going over much bigger jumps, it just can't handle with it at all, and you find it getting hot, and because it hasn't got the extra canister for the oil to displace, it's just not the best. So I was going to upgrade it to a piggyback shock, but if this isn't going to be my main workhorse bike in maybe 8 months, then I'm not going to bother. I'm sure it'll survive that, and yeah, so it's one of those things. If you love it, keep it on the bike. If you don't love it, change it out. But over the 2,000 miles, sorry, not 200, God. Over the 2,000 miles I've had it, it's held up okay, and it's done what it needed to do, so it's just one of those things that it's not my favourite, but it does the job. So, we then have the SRAM GX Eagle drivetrain, or group set should I say. So you have Truvative Descendant cranks, and these are really nice. They're good. I haven't got any scratches on them, which is surprising because normally I completely scratch up my cranks and wear them, but these have done well. They haven't got a single scratch on them. Nice solid. They're aluminium, of course. And the chainring has done well. It hasn't got that much wear on it. It's got a bit, but the only thing I don't like about this chainring is it's very, very hard to clean and get behind, but apart from that, it's done really well. Nice quiet drivetrain. I think these are 170mm cranks. I didn't want 175mm because that was just too long. And to accompany that, I then have DMR V12 pedals. I got silver because the other ones, they'll scratch up and become horrible, like my old bike. So silver, that's the default colour. They don't scratch. They still look really good, very grippy. Trash your knees if you slip off the pedals, but apart from that, yeah, absolutely fine. Held up well, haven't lost any pins from them at all. Moving even further back to the bike, we then have the MinoLink, which is Trek system, which basically is like a flip chip. So YT, I think Specialized have them, I know Canyon have them, and it just allows you to alter the geometry. So I have mine in the low setting, so my BB is 7mm lower, and my head angle is a degree slacker. That's just how I prefer it. Some people prefer the high version, but apart from that, that does well, very easy to change, so I'm happy with that. Held up well. All the bearings in this bike have also held up well over 2,000 miles. They've had no issues with them. There was one issue, well I said no issues, of course, there is one issue. and that was this one here. It was basically had no grease in it. So seriously, if you get a trekremedy, first things first, take the bearings out and make sure there's grease in them. Because loads and loads of people have this issue where they buy the bikes and then there's no grease in the bearings. So they start to creak and become horrible. So make sure you put some grease in there. I wish I'd have done that, but I got it sorted out and it's fine now. So no issues with them. So yes, I am now kneeling on the floor just to explain the parts at the back of the bike. I've already mentioned the tyres, so I'm not going to mention them. And let's talk about the cassette and the derailleur. So we have the SRAM GX cassette, or I don't know, it might be an XG cassette, I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely the GX model. It's got the 500% gear ratio, 10 to 50 tooth. It's held up well, it's got minimal wear on it considering for 2,000 miles. It's really great. The derailleur's held up well. I've crashed many times on it. Hitting it, it had all sorts of scratches on it, and the clutch mechanism worked well, save the derailleur. I have never had a bent derailleur hanger on this bike, that's one good thing, and it's all held up really well. Still shifts gear perfectly smooth. I'm really happy with it. I did have to fine tune it slightly the other week because the B tension was slightly out, but apart from that, held up perfect. Of course, because this is Trek, we only have one rear pivot. It's called ABP, Active Braking Pivot. It really helps the bike because it means there's one less bearing. So you only have this one here instead of one there and one there. That's really good. Really like that. We then also have the Bontrager hub in here. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I do not know its full name. I don't even really know what hub it is because it doesn't say in the specification or anywhere actually. But all I know is it's a Bontrager hub for definite. It's got the XT driver on it, of course, for the cassette. And it's got a really nice noise, just listen. So it's got quite good engagement. I wouldn't say the engagement is fantastic, but it's good. It's held up well over the time that I've had it, and it's done a job. I might put some more pulls in it just to get that engagement, to stop that, get that perfect engagement, but apart from that, really well. As I said, the rear brake, it's held up not too well. I've had to bleed it quite a few times, but apart from that, everything's perfect. Excuse the fact that I'm wearing different clothes and this outro is completely different. That's because as I was editing it just now, I realised, oh, I forgot to film an outro. And if I look shattered, it's because I am. I've just been on our first ride back today. We did loads of miles, but because it was the first time back, it was knackering. And to be honest, I am shattered. But anyway, this isn't this video, that will be next week's video. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Subscribe, leave a like. Thanks for watching. Hold on, the bike. I need to get to this video. The bike has done 2,000 miles, really happy with it. Hopefully I can use it for at least another 1,000. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Right, let's go ride. We'll be right back.